Basically, we're transferring now from the mash tun through the heat exchanger into the washback, where it'll ferment. We are throwing in the wort from above, so that it gets some oxygen. The yeast, which we'll be adding eventually, like within the next 30 minutes. As long as there's oxygen in here, the yeast will multiply rather than ferment the ethanol that we want. But during this multiplication process, substances are being created that actually don't only benefit the yeast for health and adapt to the new alcoholic environment, but also produces flavors that we actually want. The more you give this sugar to the reproduction part, the more flavors it can become, but also the less yield you'll get, the less ethanol. So you need to have a fine balance between not having too much and not having too little. Also taking into respect the cell count that we have. The more cells we throw in, the less oxygen you theoretically need. The less yeast you throw in, the more oxygen you need.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Again, we talk about, this episode is about recipe development and stuff. It's these little things right there
which make the whole difference.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Whole different flavors.
But not just that, also the temperature. Right now we went in very hot to sterilize everything. Now we have to go in cold to then balance out the temperature, and we want to get it at like spot on 22 degrees. If it's too hot, the yeast is stressed. When the yeast is unhappy, it produces flavors that we don't want. These flavors in small amounts, like diacetyl, might be good for us because it creates a butterscotch flavor, but if you have too much of it, it starts to get too much of this popcorn buttery flavor, which you don't want either. So you don't need to have ingredients to create flavor. You have to know and understand every step of the process to manipulate exactly the flavor you want. And that's the reason why you've got this massive spectrum of, for example, Scotch whiskey flavors, and they're all only yeast, malted barley, yeast and water, nothing else. That's incredible.
Incredible.